Hello and welcome to the 6th episode of Shattered. I am Amber Williams, joined by Jaya Williams and Allyson Park. Today we've got a ton of topics coming at you. But before we get into it, let's give a little update on where we're at in the U.S. for the Olympics. So we have right now at 9:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday, when we were recording this on July 27th, the U.S. has 9 gold medals, 8 silver, and 8 bronze, for a total of 25 medals. Now, they have the most of any other countries right now, but Japan is leading them with 1 more gold. So we gotta do a little bit better, guys. We gotta edge them out a little bit. But we have some more fun topics coming today. We are going to be talking about women who are making history at these Olympic Games, an update with the handball team situation that we discussed last time, some U.S. women's national team news, and another update on Maria Taylor. So first off, guys, how are you guys doing?
I'm good. Had a good Tuesday night. How are y'all?
Yeah, recording this a little bit late, but we're gonna get through it. So let's do it.
Yes, this is a special late night episode, at least for us. Maybe not for the listeners, but
was it Shattered After Dark? Yeah. So let's get into it. With the handball team, of course, we talked about the situation on the last show where the Norwegian team got in trouble for refusing to wear bikini bottoms. So they have officially been fined $1,770 for a, quote, breach of clothing regulations. But one very famous singer has stepped up and decided that she would pay all of these fines. On Twitter, Pink wrote, "I'm very proud of the Norwegian female beach handball team for protesting the very sexist rule about their uniform. The European Handball Federation should be fined for sexism. Good on you, ladies. I'm happy to pay your fines for you. Keep it up." I personally think this is absolutely incredible that Pink has decided to do this. What are you guys' thoughts?
I think that is awesome. You know, I mean, it's silly that this fine is even a thing, but the fact that she is offering to cover it is kind of just like a big, slap in the face to them. Like, you know what? They're going to wear what they want to wear. Screw your fine, because everyone has a right to feel comfortable and do what they want to do. So I think it's amazing.
Yeah, I think it's a really great gesture. I think, because obviously it's not a lot of money for her, but I think it's a really great gesture just to show the world where she stands on this issue. And I love that she was passionate enough about it to kind of take the initiative and say, yeah, I'll pay this fine for you because I think that you shouldn't have to pay this fine. I think it's a great stand-on where she thinks that this issue, which way this issue should have gone, and she's actually making an effort to change things. So I think hats off to her. That's absolutely awesome.
The only thing that annoys me is that, like, they get money for this, like, obviously it's nothing to cover that fine for her, but it's just annoying that the organization's still going to get to profit from getting this fine.
Yeah, that is a little troubling, but I will say the European Handball Federation did state that it's going to donate the fine that is paid to a major international sports foundation, specifically promoting equality for women and girls in sports.
Why not just change the rule then? We're trying to look like the good guys.
Exactly.
It's like, just change the rule. We wouldn't have this in the first place.
Yeah, I think it's such a double standard. Like, it's great that they're doing that, but, like, they shouldn't have to do that. Just don't give them the fine.
Like,
How
you guys
about
are
that?
just creating... I don't understand. They're the source of the problem, and now they're trying to fix it when they could have just prevented this whole thing. But I mean, hey, it's money for a good cause, so I guess you can't get too mad at it.
It could have ended in a worse way for sure. But I do think it's a ridiculous double standard. But at least they're taking the initiative to put that money in a good place. So that's appreciated.
I guess it's the least they can do.
Yeah. I mean, we hope to see that isn't a thing in the future that has to be fined, but for now, I guess this is the best we can ask for. So, switching it over to some more positive news of women's sports, we have some incredible ladies making history at the Olympics. There's, of course, a ton, but I want to talk about 2 specific ones. First, I want to talk about Lee Kiefer. She just became the first American woman to win Olympic gold in individual foil, which is fencing. So she defeated the Iranian Olympic champion, guys, Ina Deriglasova, for the gold. And she, of course, was the reigning champion for the Russian Olympic Committee. And this is actually not just like the first gold. This is the first medal of any color that the U.S. has won in this event, and it was taken by a woman. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, that's definitely some good news, especially because all the other news surrounding the Team US in the Olympics hasn't been so good, especially with our basketball team losing for the first time since 2004. It's just a little upsetting. So it is nice that at least somebody's doing something good and making history. I mean, obviously we've won gold in other categories. I'm being dramatic, but we definitely are not performing at the levels that I think we're used to and a lot of people were expecting. So it is a nice victory and definitely great that it was a woman to be the first one to do it. We always love to see that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, we have another woman taking a first as well. We have Anastasia Zolotic. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And she is the first American woman to win Olympic gold in Taekwondo at only 18 years old. So with all of the negative information surrounding the Olympics right now, I think these two women are just nice little shining lights for the United States. And I love seeing these women get that first.
Yeah, it's really nice to see that, especially in two sports that are not as appreciated here in the US. Like, people don't watch fencing, people don't watch Taekwondo, people don't do those things. So I think it's really nice. It'll help the American public kind of get more exposed to these sports and hopefully start watching them on a regular basis, because we all know there are those like 4 sports in America that get all the rage and nothing else gets covered. So it's really nice to see Americans doing well in sports that aren't basketball, soccer, all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited to see it. I think it's awesome, and I hope to see more of it.
Yeah, I think that's what's so great about the Olympics is it does highlight those incredible athletes that you don't know of because you're not paying attention to these sports, at least not most people, because you said it's not part of the main 4. But then we get to see that, there's incredible young women and other athletes who are absolutely crushing it.
Yeah, I think the Olympics are a great reminder of just how many diverse sports and how much of an array of different athletes there are just in this world. I think that's one of the coolest parts about the Olympics. And, obviously nobody's always tuning into every single thing, but I do think it's important to appreciate these athletes that are doing crazy stuff. Like, it might not be basketball and swimming and gymnastics, although those are very fun to watch. It is cool to see different people excelling at what they're best at, for sure.
Yes, and so now, speaking of sports that people are very excited to watch, we are going to switch it over to Allyson, who is going to talk to us about the U.S. Women's National Soccer Team.
Thanks, Amber. So I'm super excited about this. I'm a huge soccer fan. I've been watching this team and these players ever since I was a little girl, so I'm so excited to talk about them today. But this is actually not going to be as happy and exciting as the other segments because they have not been performing at the level that they've been expected to, but we'll get into that. But this year, the U.S. Women's National Soccer Team is ready for revenge and for redemption. They started the Olympics on the wrong foot in a surprise opening match, 3-0 loss to Sweden in an extremely rare, extremely disappointing performance. This loss actually effectively ended the U.S. Women's National Team's 44-game winning streak. They had not lost a match since, I believe, December of 2019, so that was a really big deal for them. This was surprising and disappointing for a plethora of reasons. The U.S. is ranked number 1 in the world currently. They have been for a long time. They're heavy favorites to win the gold medal. But the loss stung for one more particularly bitter reason. In the 2016 Rio Olympics, Sweden defeated the U.S. in the quarterfinals in penalty kicks, handing them the earliest U.S. Olympic exit ever in history. And in the opening match, Sweden completely dominated the U.S., similar to what they had done in the past. So the U.S. started the 2021 Olympics the same way they ended the 2016 Olympics, with a bitter loss to Sweden. And I think that was just, it was too familiar. It was too soon. The U.S. that year had been hoping to win back-to-back World Cup champions and gold medal at the Olympics, which no team has done before. And their hopes were dashed by Sweden in penalty kicks that year. And they hope to do the same this year. They won the 2019 World Cup, and the U.S. also hopes to win the gold medal this year. But it was definitely a not great start for the U.S. that no one was expecting. It's very rare for the U.S. to give up 1 goal in a game, let alone 3. So it was very disappointing to watch their performance. It just seemed really off. I don't know why they got off on the wrong foot this year, but Sweden has become a rival of sorts for the U.S. women's national team this year. Ranked number 5 in the world, they've proved themselves a very solid team. And I think if the U.S. women want to win this gold medal, they need to figure out how to shut Sweden down. But that was definitely a very surprising upset. But in a little more happy news, on Saturday, the U.S. came back from their terrible first game and defeated New Zealand 6-1 in a very dominant performance. Rose Lavelle, Lindsay Horan, Kristen Press, and Alex Morgan all scored. But this is, I'm really excited to talk about this. This was a weird game, guys. I don't know if you guys watched it. There were 2 own goals from New Zealand and 4 U.S. goals that were ruled null due to offside, which is absolutely unheard of. Like, if you have a professional game with 4 offside calls, that's absurd. But 4 offside goals is just absurd. It's like, that never happens. That was a really strange game to watch. I didn't know what's going on. I don't know what. I just don't know what was going on. It was a strange game, even though they ended up winning 6-1. They performed a lot better than they did in their previous matches. Their offense was more in sync. They looked more like the team that they had been before. But the offsides thing was super weird to me. But it gave them back their momentum and allowed them to get their normal feel back and the normal level of performance. And on yesterday, the U.S. tied 0-0 with Australia to clinch second place in Group G and advancing to the knockout round. I want to get y'all's thoughts on just kind of the other games that I had just talked about, because I have a lot to say about this Australia game. But what do you guys think so far about the U.S. women's national soccer team's performance in the Olympics so far?
Well, Sweden seems to be their like Achilles heel. They know how to perform against other teams, but for some reason they just can't get past Sweden. And to me, that's insane, because they are obviously an incredible team on paper. But then also, for them to score no goals against Sweden, I think that's what strikes me the most. Letting 3, yeah, that's bad as well. But to not even get 1 in the goal, that's pretty insane. But then, they followed it up with an incredible match. So at least they know how to bounce back from that. They were able to do that, and huge props to them for that one.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just like you said, really surprising. I think we've just had a lot of shocks this year with the Olympics, some in a good way, some in a bad way. But I don't know. It's just interesting to watch all of this unfold. I guess that's the best way I could put it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the U.S. versus Australia game, which was, to me, it was a very underwhelming game. It was a tie, 0-0. Both teams failed to score. The U.S. was actually heavy favorites for this game as well. They were actually predicted to win 3-1. But like I said, both teams failed to even score the goal. They had very few opportunities, too. There weren't that many shots on goal. Alex Morgan actually scored on a header, but it was scratched due to offsides again. Wow. So 5 offside goals in 2 games is just, that never happens. Not in all my years of playing soccer and watching soccer, I've never, ever seen that before. So I don't know what's going on there, but they need to figure out why that's happening and fix that, because that is hurting them a lot points-wise. But just watching this U.S.-Australia game, they couldn't get it going. I mean, their offensive game was not as good as it had been against New Zealand. They just couldn't make plays. And that is a really big problem. Even if you have your defense making plays, your offense needs to be coherent and make plays so that you can score goals. So without your offense, your team, you can't go do anything. You don't have momentum.
Yeah.
The U.S. they have not been performing the way that everyone thought they would these Olympic Games. I mean, they're usually such a dominant team. They're always favorites to win the World Cup, always favorites to win the gold medal. And this year, I've been shocked at how poorly they've been performing these past couple games. If they want to win gold, they're going to have to step it up. They're going to have to take a step back, figure out what's holding them back and how to fix that, or else they're not going to make it to the finals, kind of like what happened in Rio. But yeah, if you know me, I absolutely love this team. Every woman on it, I think they're phenomenal. They've been role models for me for a very long time. I think they're all incredible people, activists, athletes, all those things. I've always said that female athletes, especially when it comes to soccer, are great at also being activists and advocating for social justice, gender equality, all that kind of stuff. So I have a different level of respect for them because I think they're all very active in those areas. So props to them. But speaking from an unbiased, analytical perspective, they are not playing like the team that won the 2019 World Cup. They are not playing like the team that we all know they are. And they're going to have to change that if they want to still be gold medal contenders. Yeah, like I said before, it's rare for the US to give up 1 goal in 5 games, and they've given up 4 in 3. Like that's crazy. That's not the US team that we know. They need to examine why their performance has been lacking and figure out a way to pull it off and make it to the finals. I really hope they can, but at this point, I'm not as confident in them as I was initially going into these Olympics. So I'm not sure. I mean, I hope they can, but their performance has been lacking lately, and it brings up a lot of questions. So, do you guys think that the U.S. team will be able to bring home gold this year?
I'm not sure, honestly. It seems like they're just too inconsistent. Like, to go out and have a game where you're letting, 3 goals away, but then you're coming back and doing amazing and then not even scoring when the other team isn't even making goals either. It's too inconsistent for me to see them able to take away the gold. And honestly, I don't know why, but at this Olympics, it seems like a lot of teams that we expected to be like, amazing, incredible teams that have, like I said, really good on paper. They're not putting up the numbers that I had expected these US teams to do. So that's kind of disappointing for me.
Yeah, I mean, they're not the only ones. It's been pretty disappointing. I mean, considering the way that Team USA across the board usually performs, this is just kind of overall shocking. What's been going on. A lot of people have been blaming it on like the COVID year and kind of just everything that's happened with that. I was wondering what you guys think. Like, do you think it was the pandemic? Do you think it's just because there was bizarre standings? Or like, do you think there's a certain cause of this, or we're just having kind of an off Olympics this time around?
I think it's just an off year. I don't think it's because of COVID, because you could technically say they've actually had longer time to train. Like they should be technically more prepared for this situation, but I don't know what it is. I think it's just an off year for us. And I mean, we're not doing horrible. Like I said, we have the most medals right now, but it's just we're not leading like we should.
We're not dominating.
Yeah, exactly.
We're still ahead, but usually we come in and we like really dominate.
Exactly.
But I don't think that it's over. There's absolutely still hope. For sure. I think it's just, they're going to have to make those adjustments that need to be made in order to get the results they want to see, because what's happening right now is not working. Not right now.
Yeah, I would agree with Amber. I'm not sure if it has much to do with the COVID situation. I'm sure it has some kind of impact, but I don't think it's as big as people think it is. I think it's just, everyone has off days. Everyone has off performances. I just think that it's strange that so many U.S. teams are having bad performances all at once.
Yeah.
Like so many, it's not like just the basketball players. It's across a lot of sports. Like we saw, like Simone Biles withdrew from the finals. It's just a lot of weird things. And I don't know, it just must be one of those years, sometimes things just happen and you got to learn how to deal with it. And like you guys said, we're still doing very well. We're just used to the Americans competing at a much higher level, but we're still doing very well in these Olympics. And that's something that we should still be thankful for, I think.
Yeah, we got to celebrate the little victories that are happening. Like, we're not doing bad, guys. We're still in this conversation here. Now, I think the U.S. women's national team, they definitely need to step it up, like if they want to take home gold. But again, it's not out of the picture. But circling back to something else that we have talked about previously on another episode, Jaya, can you give us the update on the Maria Taylor situation?
Yes. So, as you guys remember, in the midst of Maria Taylor's contract ending with ESPN, there was a big scandal that came out with Rachel Nichols, one of her fellow coworkers, and another ESPN sports reporter. Basically, a tape leaked, a year-old audio tape leaked containing comments where she kind of insinuated that Taylor only got the job to host the 2020 finals because of diversity. So basically because she's Black. And once this broke, it created just a lot of tension. She's had a tough year with ESPN. There was a lot of tension. There wasn't much pushback or punishment for Nichols, and the two haven't worked together. They've intentionally not been on the same shows all year. It was just a cruddy situation. And ESPN offered her $3 million to renew. Her contract had just expired. Her last job with the network was the NBA Finals. And after that championship, she decided that she wasn't going to return, and that was her final assignment, which, I mean, had to be a tough decision leaving something like that. But I mean, we don't know if it's directly because of the incident, but it probably had something to do with it. And now she's moving on. She has made the switch, and she is going to work for NBC. She's in Tokyo right now, actually covering these Olympics was her first assignment. Pretty cool first job, if you ask me. But yes, so she is now a reporter for NBC. She's super excited to be a part of it. She said, quote, "It's an honor to be a part of this team and the Olympic legacy. Covering the Olympics is a dream come true." So I'm glad that it all worked out for her in the end, especially because, you never want to be in the press for stuff related to racism and all this negativity. And I'm sure that was a lot for her. So to finally, find a place where she's comfortable is good. A lot of people do wish she had stayed at ESPN just because, I mean, I know I loved watching her. She was just such a fun energy. And it sucks that something that didn't really have anything to do with her led to her leaving. But, NBC, she seems really excited about it. And she gets to cover the Olympics, so she's doing pretty good. Have you guys heard anything else about this?
Yeah, when I heard that she was going to be covering that, for me personally, covering the Olympics, it's like one of my main dreams. So I think as a sports reporter, like, that's amazing that she's able to get this gig. It sucks that she had to leave ESPN for the reasons that she did. They weren't her fault, of course, and yet she felt the need to leave. But I think she made a great decision. I think her career is going to be great. She's killing it. She's doing good. So I'm happy to see her covering the Olympics. I will miss seeing her with ESPN, though.
Yeah, I think it was a great bounce back for her because initially I heard she left ESPN and it was very conflicting for me because in a way I understand her decision to step away from that company because the environment maybe wasn't right for her and she didn't feel like she was appreciated. But in a sense, it did feel like did they win? Is this what people wanted all along? Which I know isn't the right thing to think, but I'm sure she's thought it too. It felt like a battle was lost in a way. But when I saw that she got the opportunity to work with NBC and cover the Olympics, it was a complete game changer. I was like, well, she has proved she's great at what she does. And being able to just jump right back into it after all of that so well, and she covers something as large as the Olympics, I think was amazing. And I'm really happy for her. And yeah, I'm just excited to see what she does in the future because she's absolutely killing it. And I'm so happy for her that she got this opportunity.
Yeah, I like that you brought that up because it was kind of, I mean, now all of us are invested in this situation because it's public. I mean, this is really her decision, but for a lot of people, it kind of just felt like, no, stay and stick it to them and really just go in there and kill it and use that as kind of a slap in the face for this situation or kind of as a comeback, coming out on top because it feels like, oh, well, all this happened and now she's leaving. But I think you just have to change your perspective when you look at it. It's more she's taking a higher road and elevating herself in an even bigger way. They asked her to stay and she said no because she didn't like the way they responded to this situation, and she deserves way more respect than that. You can't, and even you see it with the Aaron Rodgers thing. Sometimes you can't just throw money at a situation and expect that somebody's going to stay where they're not happy or satisfied because it is bigger than money. So I think that she made the right call for her. And I'm sure NBC is very lucky to have her. The NBC ratings will probably go up to have her there. And I'm going to watch her wherever she goes. She ends up on MTV, I'm still going to watch her. She's an amazing reporter and very good at what she does. So yeah, it'll be good no matter what.
Yeah, I think this is a great opportunity for her, you know. I think she's going to be amazing. Like you said, Jaya, wherever she goes, she's going to do great.
Definitely. And in one final little Olympic update, I wish we could end on a more positive note, but I'm sure everybody's heard about this by now. We have to bring it up. Megan Rapinoe. So the conversation surrounding Sha'Carri Richardson, as you know, she was disqualified from the Tokyo Olympics after failing a drug test related to testing positive for marijuana. And after this whole thing ensued, a lot of people were like saying it's ridiculous. She shouldn't have been allowed to be disqualified. And it is very disappointing because she was definitely one of the top people that we were all really looking forward to seeing dominate, especially for women's track. Like, she was really number one. So I know it just was really disappointing when she got disqualified. There was a lot of controversy surrounding the rules, but what it was is the rules are the rules. That was what they said. And then after all of this drama, Megan Rapinoe, who is another athlete, promoted her use of a new line for a CBD company. So an article got posted in Forbes where she promoted Mendi. This is a company that her and her sister co-founded, and they sell hemp-derived cannabis oil products, I guess, like CBD gummies and topical sticks. And she endorsed them, saying that she's been using them for years and they're great. Obviously, it contains 0.3% or less THC. So it's mostly just a CBD product. It's not getting you high necessarily or having that THC effect, but it's still a marijuana-related company and a marijuana-related thing that she was promoting and being sponsored by. So a lot of people are kind of like, what the hell, you know? How are you going to literally disqualify somebody for the same plant and allow a different athlete to endorse it? And the main thing being the THC, which was why this is technically okay. But yeah, a lot of people are really, really unhappy with this. A lot of people are saying the Olympics are racist and sexist, considering a lot of these dramatics that they've had, we've covered in these past episodes. And this is just kind of the cherry on top for a lot of people, saying, you know, this is unfair and disgusting that a Black woman is disqualified. Meanwhile, people are saying, you know, it's white privilege, her ability to do this. Sha'Carri Richardson would never have been allowed to promote a CBD company. And, you know, it's yet another scandal, yet another thing taking away from the sports. But it does need to be talked about. It's been a lot of bickering online. So I'm curious to know what you guys think about this whole situation.
Yeah, so part of me is very disappointed in Megan Rapinoe personally. As someone who is so active in the social justice era, gender equality, all that kind of stuff, this seemed like a very tone-deaf move for her. It brings up a lot of interesting aspects. Like, a lot of people talk about like the racial stigma behind weed and marijuana, and it's a valid question. Why are two white women being praised for promoting this stuff, especially when one of them is currently competing in the Olympics, while one Black woman was basically told she couldn't compete in the Olympics at all because of it? I think the double standard is absolutely insane. And while they are different, and I recognize that, I definitely think that it's rooted in something that's just terrible. And the double standard is maddening, and I understand why there's so much backlash against it, but I'm not, what can they do about this? Like, what action could possibly help the situation along or help, you know, calm people down? Because it's crazy, it's inexcusable, and yet what can be done about it? So my major question is, I agree with all these people who are disagreeing online, but what can the Olympics do about it?
Yeah. So I have a little bit of a different stance, I think, from you guys in this situation, because I think it goes more into the legal situation here. So technically, marijuana for recreation that does contain THC is not legal in all areas. So what Richardson did, although I don't think it should have deserved disqualification, because at this point I feel like marijuana should be legal in a lot of places that it's not, technically it is still illegal what she did in a lot of situations. Whereas what Rapinoe is promoting is like, because there is no THC in it, you can't get high with it. You know, it's just CBD. And a lot of people use that. Like, I know there's a store down my street that just sells CBD stuff. So it's not illegal what she's technically promoting. Although I do agree, her choosing to promote that after the Richardson situation was very, I think, unprofessional and insensitive to the fact that we have had an issue with this in the Olympics this year.
Yeah, I understand that too. I do. I think, like you said, read the room. It's just kind of one of those things where even if it is technically allowed, it's just kind of inconsiderate considering what happened. And, you know, that's definitely PR or whoever, her agents, managers, somebody should have been like, hold on, should we think this through? Maybe maybe this isn't the best time for this, considering what just happened in the media. I mean, it happens. It is what it is. But I do think it just brings up a really interesting point, kind of about the ridiculousness of the marijuana rule in general. I think Megan Rapinoe should be allowed to endorse the CBD company. I don't think there's anything wrong with CBD. The problem is what they did to Sha'Carri Richardson. And I get that is their legal technical rules, but it isn't fair, you know. And she made that decision knowing that there could be potential consequence, but it just doesn't sit right with me that she's not allowed to be here in this Olympics because of something like that. Meanwhile, this is kind of getting praised for using CBD. I think it just shows that weed really isn't something that should be penalized for athletes, because it doesn't enhance your performance at all. So yeah, it's just kind of ridiculous, and it is disappointing. It is disappointing on the Olympics just to kind of see how they handle these scandals. This isn't their first thing. I mean, they banned a certain type of swim cap that a lot of African American women use. Like, there is kind of racist undertones. And as somebody who loves sports, and I mean, obviously you guys do too, it's tough to kind of want to support them when they have clearly they're not being considerate and they're not handling press well at all. I mean, we just talked about last episode, the Paralympics. They're not there's a lot of things going on, and it is problematic. So yeah, they need to do better in general, not just with this situation, but across the board, accommodating people of different races, ages, sexes, different disabilities and abilities. It's just, come on. It's 2021, and it is disappointing to see all this. Like I said, it takes away from what we're here to do, which is watch the sports and watch these athletes excel.
Yeah, I think
go ahead.
Okay, I think one of the biggest problems that I see in this is that this is a recurring pattern with the Olympics. Like, there have been so many scandals and so many things that have come out in the past couple of weeks it's just all messed up, you know? And it'd be one thing if it was like one thing and they're like, okay, we're going to change a bunch of policies. But this has been happening ever since the Olympics were announced. So this has been going on for a while, especially for this Olympics. It's not an isolated incident. It's something that's rather consistent, especially this year. So I think that's the problem, in that these things keep happening. The public outrage keeps happening, and yet nothing is done to fix the deeper problem, instead of like fixing something temporarily, but nothing's done to address like where these problems are coming from in the organization. So I think that's the biggest concern that I have.
And then I think they also need to work on their consistency, because, you know, yes, of course, you know, weed is different than CBD, but like Jaya said, it comes from the same plant. if you're going to ban one situation, even though one doesn't necessarily make you high and do whatever performance, then you still need to just across the board pick one rule and stick with it, and then you can avoid issues like this situation.
Right. And that's the thing. They don't, it seems like nobody's learning from mistakes. Because, like, things happen, there's issues, things get in the press, whatever. But it's never a lesson learned. We keep repeating this. We keep having a new story, a new scandal. Something else is going on. They need to learn from the past and say, okay, well, this was problematic back then, so maybe we should accommodate people this time. Maybe we should let people wear whatever shorts they want this time. Maybe we should put a little bit more limits on who can endorse what and who can do this. They just let it keep happening, and that's what's the most frustrating, when you're not making the changes to prevent issues like this and to show support for all different types of athletes. That's where I draw the line with this, and that's the most frustrating part for me.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah. Well, I think that is all we've got for today. So,
sorry to end on such a passionate note, but I feel like we have to talk about this, you know? It's a big deal. And if you don't talk about this type of stuff, it continues to happen. So I am really glad to see all of us as fans and viewers and whatever kind of pushing back, because the more that they kind of hear people's voices and opinions, the more they're going to be forced to kind of sit here and deal with it. And I feel like that's what Shattered's really about, you know, kind of just pushing those barriers. So I hope that they're listening. I hope that the Olympics are listening to everybody with all of these different things, and hopefully we can still have a great summer games. It's just beginning, so there is stuff to look forward to.
Yes, and hopefully, you know, next time when we meet for next Thursday, we will have some more positive.
Let's pray. I'm going to say a prayer tonight. I want to see Team USA do better for sure around the world.